I want to thank Senator Graham for your partnership on getting the real score of the Build Back Better. We've heard a lot of conversation from the White House, Joe Biden's White House, Speaker Pelosi, and they've just not been honest with the American people. They've not been honest with the members of Congress. They originally started out with a $3.5 trillion piece of legislation, and then they needed to scale it down to $1.75 trillion on paper. But we knew with the budget gimmicks what they were doing, that they were just changing sunsets. They weren't phasing out any programs. And when you ask them, do you not want to make these various programs permanent? No, we want to make them permanent. In fact, the White House has said they want all provisions of the Build Back Better bill to be permanent. And so that's why Senator Graham and I asked CBO to score what they are telling the American people that they're passing. And as you can see, it's the largest spending bill in the history of the United States at $5 trillion. It adds $3 trillion to the debt. $3 trillion. And just this past week, the numbers came out that we are facing the highest inflation in 40 years. When you talk to the people back home who I represent in Missouri, they're struggling to put food on their table or clothes on their backs or gasoline in their cars. They care about those prices at the supermarket. And this administration and members of Congress on the Democrat side have said that inflation is only transitory until just this past week. The White House will now say that inflation is not transitory. The Federal Reserve even says inflation is not transitory. So we need to focus on inflation. The cure to inflation is not to spin your way out of inflation. And that's what $5 trillion of new money does. The CBO score on Friday came back with several provisions I think you should look at. One, the House Democrats said the child tax credit would cost $185 billion. The CBO score on Friday says it cost $1.6 trillion. $1.6 trillion. The CBO score on Friday also said that pre-K will cost $750 billion. But the House Democrats under the Build Back Better bill, they say it cost less than half of that. And then you look at the Obamacare subsidies. House Democrats in Build Back Better says it costs $74 billion. Under the CBO score on Friday, they say $220 billion. So are they not wanting to make these programs permanent? Are they wanting them to sunset? Or are they just creating a fiscal cliff? Are they creating a poverty trap for the people of America, where that they get these programs and in a year they no longer have them? To me, it sounds like that they have two choices that they're either doing. They're either pulling the rug out from underneath the American public, or they're pulling the wool over the eyes of the American public. One or the other, we're going to have to know about. People try to refer to this bill as the Build Back Better bill. Over on the House side, we refer to it to a couple different other Bs. This bill, as I said, bankrupts the economy. It's the largest spending bill in the history of the United States. It's the largest tax increase in the history of the United States. And it will add $3 trillion to the deficit, clearly bankrupting the economy. The second largest provision in this piece of legislation is a tax cut for the wealthiest of millionaires, the state and local tax deduction. It cost over $280 billion. That's their second largest provision. If you make $20 million, you get taxpayer paid family leave. If you make $500,000, you get thousands of dollars in electric vehicle subsidies for luxury cars. It benefits the wealthy. And as Senator Graham said, it adds numerous new programs to the federal government. The CBO score that came out Friday is talking about the 17 additional programs. This bill that passed the House of Representatives adds over 150 new federal programs. So it builds the Washington machine. As I said, this bill bankrupts the economy, it benefits the wealthy, and it builds the Washington machine. It is not too late. It is not too late for Speaker Pelosi to revisit this bill. In fact, she's not even sent it over to the Senate. She needs her members to vote under the true transparency of this bill, of what's accurate, and not under misrepresentation. Happy to yield back to the senator.